Hello everyone, I'm Lady Rose, or you can also call me Rhonda. I was going back on some of my old videos and I had this series called The 9 Keys of Happiness, and I have since evolved that a little bit more. I now have a one-on-one program that I do with people, with my clients and whatnot, but I thought I'd do some videos about some of the techniques that maybe you've heard of, maybe you want a different perspective on, maybe you haven't heard about it and you want to learn more. But I found that a lot of the programs that I've kind of started and then restarted and whatnot are made up of very small little techniques. And these are techniques that really work. I've used them myself. So they've been, tested in the real world. I've passed them along to clients who have said, oh, wow, this really works and it's really great and all this kind of stuff, right? So I thought I'd do a video, short and sweet videos about different techniques and just talk a little bit about them and sort of why we're doing them, because I often want to know the why. If there's science to back it up, if there's facts that back it up, that sort of thing. I'm a concrete girl and I like concrete things. I don't like sunshine blown up my skirt and I promise my clients that I don't blow sunshine up their skirt. I'm not a buzzword kind of girl as far as, just puffing out things and then, be on your way and have that happy life, that dream life, whatever it might be. And I thought I'd get on here real quick right before I'm actually about to sit down with a client that is doing some of these happiness and soul sessions with me. So I made out a list of different techniques, and I actually have 32 different techniques right now. There might be more, but I'm going to start with a very, very basic one. So a lot of us want to work towards a better life, a happier life, find that job that we love, that career that we wake up every morning and are excited to do, find the love of our lives and, grow old with them, have the happy home. A lot of it begins with you and your inner child. And it begins with healing, because we all have healing, hurt in our background. We all have trauma of some form or another in our background. No one's is bigger or better or worse or whatever, because sometimes we get into that comparison thing, and comparing tragedy is as bad as comparing success. So you don't want to get into that comparing mode. You just know what you have done and what you have been through. And our inner child is the one, it's sort of the smaller version of ourselves. So usually it's between the age of 5 and 7 kind of area. And he or she, like for me, it's little Rhonda. Little Rhonda took on and carries all the trauma that I have gone through in my life, just as your little version of you carries and holds all the trauma and hurt that you went through. And it can be things like that will stick with us. Like it can be something as small as a comment made on a playground, and that stays with you and that hurt you in that moment. And sometimes it can stay with you. And of course there's other, traumas like abuse and things like that. But even those playground things can be the things that determine and sway and have influence on all our other decisions, even into adulthood. And the reason you want to address your inner child is because he or she, and like I said, in my case, it's a she is my connection both to healing and to handling my shadows, as they're sometimes called. You may have heard of the word shadow work. Shadow work is working through, not getting over necessarily, but working through and learning how to manage and handle all that shadow, all that trauma, all that hurt that has come to us through life. And even in adulthood, when we get hurt, it's still our inner child that holds on to that for us and takes it. And our inner child is very literal. Like again, in my case, it's she, so I'll most often address her as she. She is the one that listens to that hurt that we might feel or hear in our lives, even in adulthood, and takes it very literally and can start to believe it. And she's the one that creates those beliefs and truths, which is not a bad thing, but we need to help her through some of the hurts and whatnot. So again, like I said, a lot of these hurts, shadows, betrayals, bitterness, that sort of thing, is something we have to work through. I'm a big believer in working through it and learning how to handle and manage it. You don't have to get over it. You don't have to forget it, and all that kind of stuff. But it should not, and I don't like to use the word should too often, but it should not have so much power and influence that we are now making decisions based off of that fear, that hurt, that trauma. So our inner child is also our connection to our divine self. It's through the innocence of that inner child that we are able to connect to our divine self. And that is why she is so very important. So we must take care of her. And if we don't, we start to lose control of our lives because we are basing all our decisions on fear as opposed to a place of strength. We disconnect from the divine version of ourselves because we've clouded over and neglected our inner child kind of thing. So I often give my clients inner child work to do, and there's no writing involved. So I know a lot of coaches and other spiritual healers and whatnot will say, well, journal this. It's like, I don't want to journal. I'm not saying there isn't a place for journaling, but I am not a believer in that you need to journal every day, that you need to write out every single feeling you have and all that kind of stuff. I'm not into that. So if you are a big journaler, that's great. Use that. Maybe that's your strength. If you're one of those people that feel guilty when the word journaling comes up because it's like, oh, it's been a while since I've written anything down, that's okay. Totally fine with me. Anyways, you might have other spiritual healers that say, no, you should be doing it every day. I'm like, yeah, do it every once in a while when you feel like it, but don't force yourself. Don't make it a chore, because if it's a chore, it's not really doing what it's supposed to do. So the inner child work that I tend to do and that I assign my clients to do is I tell you to look in the mirror and you look at yourself, because she's in there or he's in there. You look yourself right in the eye and you tell yourself that everything's going to be okay, that you've been hurt, that it hurt when, and name a few times, but you're here now, and that you love little Rhonda, or little whatever version you are. You tell her you love her, you tell her everything's going to be okay, and you tell her you're here to hold her and to protect her and to help her work through some of these feelings that we have about this, that, or the other. And you name those things. And I don't want you to rehash those things. We don't have to go into details. She knows the details. She was there too. Just tell her the highlights or the headline part of it. I know you were hurt when mommy hit us with the wooden spoon, whatever it might be, right? And I know that really scares you. And you go into the emotion part of it. You understand, you validate those emotions. And then you tell her that you love her. And then you tell her whatever you want to talk to her about. You start by talking to her and acknowledging her and even hugging her a little. It's going to be okay. Because when you hug yourself, It's like that smile thing. I don't know if anyone's heard this. I'm sure some of you have. But when you smile, your brain doesn't know the difference between whether you're happy or sad when you actually physically smile. When you physically smile, your brain automatically thinks you're happy. And it's like, oh, she's happy. Okay, so we're going to send out endorphins and we're going to do things that, make us happy. Same thing with a hug. When you hug yourself, your brain doesn't know who's hugging you. And I know that sounds really weird and kind of dumb. It's like, how's my brain not know? It doesn't matter. It's a touch. It's a touch that we all need. We all need hugs, and it's a touch. And if it's you hugging yourself with that touch, that's okay. That's still love. It's self-love, self-care. That's some of the things that people are talking about when they use that term, self-care, self-love. Literally hugging yourself. And I mean that not in a, oh, isn't this funny that we're doing this? But I mean that in, you're hugging yourself because you're hugging your inner child. I'm hugging my little Rhonda. And it can be very moving. And I know when you first sit down at the mirror or stand up in the mirror and you start talking to the little version of yourself, it's going to feel very weird and you're going to feel stupid and you're going to be like, oh my God, I hope no one sees me doing this. But trust me, when you start to talk to them, things start to shift and change. That's the first small step, small technique that you can do. You're going to feel silly. You're going to want no one in the house when you first do it. You might even whisper to yourself if there is someone in the house. But now I've done it so long that I don't care because I love talking to my little version of Rhonda. And the other thing that talking to her begins healing in is the inner critic, the monkey mind that tells you you can't do things, or as some people say, the itty bitty shitty committee that tells you, who are you? You're a fool to think that you can do this. Why are you even attempting that? Don't you know how stupid you are? That inner monologue that happens sometimes, hopefully it doesn't happen too much, but I'm sure we all have it at one point or another. Mine is pretty much gone, so I'm yay me. But I know when I first started, I had a huge committee. I had to fire every one of them. And you need to do that too. And by talking to your inner child, that's how you start getting rid of that itty bitty shitty committee or that critic inside. Because by talking to her, you tell her how great she is. Like if you're talking to a 5 to 7-year-old version of yourself, you wouldn't tell her she's stupid. How dumb are you to think you can do that? That's not the way you talk to a 5 to 7-year-old, but that's who that itty bitty shitty committee is speaking to, because she hears it, she starts to believe it, and she makes it a truth, which then influences you and your decisions. So to undo that, it's not about you being terrific and whatnot. It's about her being terrific and being worthy of the love and being worthy of doing whatever she wants to do. When you're talking to a 5-year-old and they want to be an astronaut, you go, yeah, you can be anything you want to be, right? Same applies to your little version of yourself. You tell your little version, you can do anything you want. No matter where you are in life, no matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, you can do anything. And when I say that, I'm saying that to little Rhonda. So you start saying that to your little version of yourself and telling your little version of yourself that you're okay, that you're loved, that you're protected, that someone's here for you now, that they are worthy of whatever it is they want, need, or desire, that they can do anything they want. They're not stupid, they're not dumb, they're not clumsy, they're not any of these things. That's how you erase that kind of inner monologue that might be happening. Start with your inner child, tell her she's loved, tell her she's safe, hug her, and tell her she's capable of anything she wants. Encourage her, cheer her along, him or her, depending on who you are. So start with that. It's going to feel silly at first, But trust me, you'll get into it and it will be a beautiful thing, because when she or he starts to blossom, so do you. And it affects your life in huge, magnificent ways. All right, that's the first one. Take care. Keep an eye on what's coming up for the next one. And please subscribe if you want to see more of these kinds of videos. Please put a thumbs up. Please ring the fairy bell and subscribe so that you'll be notified when I do more of these. All right, take care. Have a great day. Bye.